It's 6 o'clock, so I'm going to open the 2022 Town Informational Meeting. I wanted to first take a minute to introduce our select board members, if you're not familiar with them. To my left is Kurt Klein. To my immediate right is Kurt Billings. Richard Lee had scheduled a vacation today, so this week, so he is not going to be with us. And Alan Carpenter is to my right. And I'm Linda Martin. We are going to start by having Representative Kate Donnelly speak. We were waiting for Dan Noyes, but he may be held up a little bit in Montpelier. Kate, do you want to say a couple words?
Yeah. Hey. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me and inviting me and Dan here. I'll just take a moment of time just to introduce myself to anyone who is here and listening. So I'm Kate Donnelly. I'm the representative for Lamoille 2, which is Belvedere, Johnson, Hyde Park, and Wolcott. And I just wanted to let folks know, Dan and I have been doing a monthly informational meeting. We do it the fourth Saturday at 9 in the morning on Zoom. So I'm happy to put my information in the chat box that goes out on Front Porch Forum as well. I'll be sending out a reminder, but that's a really nice opportunity to come and connect with us. It's really open forum, question and answer. So if you have any specific questions about the legislature or things going on right now, I think that's a great space to come and have those conversations. And of course, you can also reach us any other way as well. I don't know if there's any specific questions for me. I don't want to take much of your time on your agenda, but I'll stop there.
Well, thank you, Kate. So you'll put that in the chat and people can take that off and meet with you on Saturday mornings, once a month, if they're interested. I've attended before. It's pretty interesting. You hear what's going on in Montpelier and particularly some of the real issues in our communities. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. I agree. It's been really nice space to hear what's happening for folks locally. So I'm going to put my email in there, and then the way to get into the meeting is email me, and then I'll send the link out before the meeting. So thanks again for the invite, and have a good evening, you guys.
So maybe if Dan hops in, we'll let him speak. So as you know, this year we are going to be having town meeting again, only by Australian ballot. COVID was pretty strong at the time when we had to make this decision. Thankfully, it is winding down. Probably if we'd known that, things would be different, but we're on this course now. And one of the things we're required to do is hold an informational meeting for our citizens, explaining and the budget and the warning, and giving them the opportunity to ask questions so that they can make an informed decision when they go to vote. So we will walk you through some of the articles to be voted on, and then have a period for questions and answers at the end of the presentation. I have asked you that you bring your town reports along, because that you can follow along if you have some questions on the warning and so forth. During this presentation, we've muted you. If you're having any kind of technical difficulties, I suggest you call the town office, 888-2746, and they can walk you through any kind of assistance you might need. Those using a phone, we've muted you, but if you hit *6, you can mute yourself. and hit *9 to unmute yourself. Let's see what else. When we get to the question and answer time, or before, if you think of questions, you can put them in the chat box, or at the end, raise your hand if you have questions you want to talk about. So before we begin, I see Dan is on now. We'll give him a minute or two to say hi to us. You'll have to unmute, Dan.
Hey, thanks for having me. So yeah, I'm Dan Noyes. I'm the rep for Wolcott, Hyde Park, Johnson, and Belvedere. Glad to be here, and thank you for including me. I'm on the Human Services Committee, and been working on looking at some issues around foster care. Let me back up a little bit. Our committee is Department of Aging and Independent Living, Department of Children and Families, and Population Health with the Department of Health. So been working on some issues around foster care in our committee. We just finished up our letter to appropriations, looking at opioids, older Vermonters, looking at how we provide care to older Vermonters and the money associated with that, with our ARPA funds that are coming in from the feds. So yeah, available to answer any questions. I'll put my contact information in the chat, and anyone who wants to reach out to me, please do. Glad to talk to you.
Great, thank you, Dan.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So now we're going to present portions of our warning. The select board members will be presenting parts of them. I'm just going to take Articles 1 and 2. Article 1 is we're going to be electing all the town officers that are statutorily required for us. When you get your ballot, they'll see that there are a number of offices that are vacant for the positions. I'm noticing that town government is struggling. You know, the state statutes we have to follow, and these statutes were written years and years ago, and I'm finding that it's really hard to fill these very important experience required positions, but hopefully we can get some officers in there to serve. The other, Article 2 is just a question we've asked every year. It's up to the voters whether they want that or not. That I'm going to now turn it over to Kurt Klein. He's going to talk about Articles 3 and 4.
Okay, thank you, Linda. So Article 3 is, shall the voters authorize the select board to establish a reserve fund to be used for capital expenditures for the town highway department, for the town and the highway department. This is really a financial management tool for the town. I think probably the best way to relate to the fund is the fund that we've used for several years now with the highway department. And so, as you may know, that we have a highway fund in which it is seeded every year. And when it comes time to rotate our highway equipment, we have a fund that is established. And it prevents the possibility of having a real surprise or a big spike in the budget. So this article is to for the voters to take a look at authorizing the select board to create another fund, a capital fund, for large purchases or large services that we know are coming up. A good example would be the School Street Bridge. And so That is the purpose or the description behind this particular article. Article 4 is show the voters authorized cannabis retailers in the town pursuant to 7 VSA 863. Just a little summary on this is as of October 2022, the legislators have opened up for licensing for retail cannabis sales, adult sales. And this is an opt-in opportunity. By default, the town opts out. And so what the voters are looking at now is the question of, do the voters want to opt in? And I'm happy to answer during the question and answer period. We were going to have a representative from Healthy Lamoille, who unfortunately has fallen ill. But I think we can probably answer most questions.
Thanks, Kurt. Kurt Billings now is going to run us, explain Articles 5 through 23.
Thank you. These articles are where we give appropriations to different community activities and things. Some of them are not related to Wolcott, so it may not be a benefit to give them this appropriation, but that's up to you as the voters to decide. And that's basically why we broke them out into separate articles, so you can decide yes or no if you want to fund these entities.
Okay, thank you. So Article 24, just a requirement that we have to have to collect taxes. It tells you what the date that they're collected and the penalties that are required. And Article 5 is just telling the voters that whether they're going to approve our selectmen's budget or not. And we will go over that select board budget now. It's pretty basically the same as last year, but I've made just some bullet points, some notes on things that have changed a little bit. Last year, the Athletic Association and the Recreation Committee didn't ask for an appropriation because of COVID. They couldn't carry on any of their activities. So they have asked for the money again this year as COVID is easing up. You'll see an increase in the election budget. That's because we'll be holding the primary and general elections this year. It's every other year. And there's added costs with the tabulation and election officials. In the library, last year, the librarian was only paid for 11 months. So you'll see a slight increase in the salary because now she's transitioned from full-time to part-time, and she'll be working part-time for 12 months. There's a slight increase in their request. The big increase is in the highway department salary. We are now paying our highwaymen a competitive salary to area towns. As you've read in the select board report, we might have lost some of our highwaymen this fall right before plow season. The way the job market was, we were quite worried on whether we could hire some, and we felt the guys were doing a good job. So the select board met, they looked at competitive salaries in other towns, what they were getting. And so we came back and made them an offer, which they were willing to stay with us for. So we were happy about that. We've created a new department this year, an IT department. We've pulled all the IT expenses out of individual departments because it's really a department that's growing. And some of the costs, most of them are borne across all the town office departments. And we felt it was clearer to track it this way. It really wasn't fair that a lot of them, like the website and so forth, were thrown in the town clerk's budget. So this is a new department that we've pulled out. In the select board's budget, we've added money for our project manager. As you could see, we lost our town assistant in this fall, and we are still advertising, hopefully to get a project manager to help us with a lot of these things that come down. We need a lot of tracking of projects and just making sure that things are flowing, nothing falls through the cracks. We've taken $24,600 from our unassigned fund balance and placed it in the revenue category to offset some of those, some of the costs for that this year. The Lamoille County Sheriff's Department has been included in the select board's budget this year. For many years, we had pulled it out of the budget. It was a standalone article. But with a strong ballot vote last year, giving a wider number of people to vote, the result was a strong yes, that policing was a service that the residents wanted. We know it's high, but so we've been, as a board, trying to work actively with the sheriff to look at the level of service versus the deliverables. And we've even reached out to other policing departments, looking possibly to join them. So we are working with the sheriff's department, trying to come up with, trying to find out, we want to know exactly how we can reduce some of our costs for the services that people in Wolcott want. So that's an ongoing issue. That is basically the highlights that when I went through the budget that I saw. We couldn't do a comparison because we've created a new department. We put the sheriff's department into our budget, so you do not see a comparison this year because there's nothing to compare to. So I guess I will open it up to questions and answers now.
There's one from the chat from Maxfield. Is there a funding projection for Article 3 in the report?
Is that the capital fund? We have, there is not in the budget, but we designated, I can tell you exactly how much it is. 47,000. I have it right. I had it right here. Well, anyway, we have a fund balance of unassigned money that was left over last, oh, here it is. And so we as a board, we didn't designate it this yet because we don't know if you've approved it, but once you would approve it, we are going to put this $47,879.77 in it, because we were creating our own kind of little capital budget, throwing money in there that was left over. We might even have some fund balance money from the end of 2021 that we can also put in there. But we are going to need to seriously have some money put away for the School Street Bridge, for the Brook Road culvert, which we just put out to bid. There's an issue with the culvert on Town Hill Road. We might need a slight match for that. So there's a lot of things that we need to have money put aside so it doesn't affect the taxes and, you know, fluctuating high and lows. It kind of keeps it steady.
Maxfield is also asking, is there a minimum maintained balance in mind?
No.
No,
Could you repeat the question? I didn't hear it.
Is there a minimum maintained balance in mind?
So if you want to use this. What's the chat?
mhm.
So for the highway department, for the highway fund, that has, we over time have found the minimum balance.
Well, you put a certain amount in each year. Maybe that's what happens with that.
Maxfield, do you want to unmute and be part of the conversation?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's like, it sounds like this funding is proposed for a lot of important projects, you know, capital projects. And I'm just wondering if, you know, those numbers have sort of been aggregated and there's a minimum balance in mind or an expenditure schedule based on, you know, when we know these projects are supposed to happen.
No, not at this point. That is a good point. I have them in my head. But I don't think it's a discussion we've had with the board. We've just come up with this idea. I hope that we can at least get 100,000 in this year, which won't be tax money, but moving forward, we're going to have to start putting money in. So our share of the School Street Bridge, for instance, is going to be 300,000. That construction is 2025. I believe our share of the Brook Road culvert off the top of my head is probably 150,000, and that will be this fall. We're trying to iron out all the FEMA stuff. If you believe it, 2019, we had that Halloween flood, and we are just wrapping up the projects, and we're waiting for quite a large sum on the North Wolcott Road, over on 300,000. So we want to kind of see how all that sugars out, to see, we want to pay off that loan that we borrowed money for the flood projects. But if we have extra money there, we would dump it into that. But at this point, I don't have everything pinpoint.
So, well, I think just one more question. The funding, is it strictly for direct expenditures for capital projects, or could it be used for matching funds for state and federal grants?
If it was a capital project, it could be used for matching funds for grants. Most definitely.
So this account is really dedicated strictly to capital projects.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Question from Sonia.
Sonia, do you want to unmute? Well, Sonia wants to know why couldn't the sheriff's department patrol budget from years past be put in the select board section for comparison? We probably could have, Sonia. I think that was an oversight.
Yeah.
If you'd like, we can get those figures to you, though. I did look up the question you had. You wanted to know. You wanted to know how many patrol people men we had, or women. We have 6, and 1 detective and 1 investigator at the Lamoille Sheriff's Department. That was something you had asked. Anyone else? This is your opportunity to learn about your budget. Give your opinion.
I have a question about the project manager, town administrator structure, and forgive me for not knowing any more detail, but could somebody explain the difference? Or I understand the general purpose of the position, and how the town would function effectively without somebody in that position. I understand its importance, for sure.
Well, I'll speak about how the town is not functioning or struggling without something, and then I'm going to let Kurt Klein explain the project manager position. It's quite a struggle for select board, especially people who have to work all day, to follow up on all the multitudes of things that come before us, surveys, Zoom meetings, everything. And so select board really needs someone who can kind of oversee that these things are happening, that they're not falling through the cracks. I'm going to let Kurt kind of explain the position.
Yeah, okay. I guess part of the question is why project manager versus, say, town administrator. And the thinking behind that is that it would be a part-time position. The budget is limited into what we can do to support this position. So it becomes a part-time position. And it really is focusing on projects, making sure that, as Linda said, that items don't slip through the cracks. There's a tremendous amount of detail in all aspects of the town. And I think the term project is exactly what this role is. We are involved right now. I think we have activity going in about 15 different projects that are being managed by the select board to the extent that we can. The other aspect is that I think we were very, very fortunate to have found the town administrator last year who was willing to take on a part-time position at a rate that the town could afford. But I think the reality of it is, as we go out and try to recruit this position, we're not going to find a part-time candidate that will be in the range that the town could afford easily at all. So I think the term project manager is well suited for what this particular role is.
And I think if there isn't someone in this position, I think the town of Wolcott loses out on opportunities because there's not someone there to get them, whether they're grants or networking or whatever. We can just be normal, but you know, if we want to look for opportunities, we need someone who's out there.
Yeah, I agree with the, you know, municipal structure that we have. It is kind of a critical position. So thank you for explaining that.
I will say that, when comparing the sheriff's department, it is 3% up from last year. So if you look at this year's budget, you'll see it has increased a little bit compared to last year.
Three agreement for 3 years, they would only increase it 3% for 3 years. This is the last year that we, under that agreement. Anything over his budget, the sheriff's department's budget, over the 3% he was eating or himself. So Sonia Innes wants to know, I saw the sheriff's monthly report you sent for December and January. I noticed that there was a big difference with the incidents. December 15, 155 in Hyde Park versus 44 in Wolcott. January, 171 in Hyde Park and 44 in Wolcott. Is this, if this is the monthly trend, then isn't our budgeting high?
Well, we only pay 20%. Of the whole budget for our
Can you answer that?
Yeah, I think that between the various towns that the sheriff serves, which is Hyde Park, Johnson, Wolcott, and part-time in Elmore, there's no question that the trend in incidents is heavily weighted on the Johnson and Hyde Park side. And our relative budgets, law enforcement budgets, between the town of Wolcott, Hyde Park, and Johnson are vastly different. Those towns are paying significantly more than Wolcott does. But I absolutely agree with your observation that Wolcott does not have near the incidence reports, but that is built into the budget. And it is built into Johnson's budget, and it's built into Hyde Park's budget.
So on page 24 of the town report, you can see Hyde Park pays 446,000 plus. Johnson pays 511,000 plus. And Wolcott pays 249,000 plus. And then there's other funding that they get.
I think without changing, negotiating with the sheriff and actually changing the level of service and the deliverables, the number of incidents, the sheriff is not in a position to kind of lower, or if we were to request that he lower the budget to the town of Wolcott, he wouldn't be able to do it. So what we are working with with the sheriff is to see if we can find a position where we're serving the people of Wolcott, but getting less for less. So if we're going to reduce the services, that is an opportunity to reduce that budget. And there's a lot of creative ideas coming up to try to accomplish that. And it is approximately, law enforcement's approximately 20% of the overall Wolcott proposed budget.
Any more questions, explanations?
Yeah, Maxfield English again. Can I ask a question about the ARPA funds?
Yeah.
I know this was printed a while ago. Has there been any progress on the determination of the expenditure in the 4 categories and any, movement or preference for where this money is disseminated?
We're going very slow and being thoughtful about it. I think Kurt Klein is in the
Yeah.
process of getting some kind of survey out to citizens. It's just in the beginning stages to find out what the town would like, how they would like to see this money used, and they would have to fit into these categories, which we would explain on this survey. But yeah, we're trying to brainstorm how to get community input. We are going to use 25,000 for the forest, and we are spending money on setting up this hybrid way of having meetings for the town. And we're also going to spend money on some IT things, updating our website, making it more user-friendly, making it secure, being able to get more information off the website, pay taxes, look at lister cards, so forth, and maybe get zoning permits on there. So we're going to use a small chunk for that, but there will be plenty of money left over, and we haven't decided. We want community input.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll just follow on that. As Linda said, we are putting together a survey that you will find on Front Porch Forum. It'll be in paper form here. And I expect that we're going to have that out just after Town Meeting Day. Because there has been some input about what people would like to see. There's ideas about something like 911 signage funding. The important thing that we will spell out in the survey is what categories are eligible, and equally so, what categories are not eligible. But as Linda said, we really want to reach out to the taxpayers of the town and get their opinion.
Is there a time frame these funds need to be expended?
Yeah, there is, and it's
I think it's 2024. Now, I'm not sure if they have to be expended or just you have to say what you're going to use it for.
has to be committed by
Yeah,
that
committed,
time.
that's the word.
So committed meaning contracts are drafted and, I mean, if applicable, so, or does it just have to be a budget, drawn up on a possible project?
I think we would, it's a good question.
Yeah.
VLCT, I will go to them and clarify that. But my guess, as these ARPA rules have trickled out, is it gets to the contract stage, where the project may not have been implemented yet, but the money has been earmarked through contract. But I will, I'll get verification on that. Good question.
Great, thank you. I don't have any other questions about the ARPA funds.
This is,
Harold's next.
Harold? Yeah.
Harold Schwartz. I just had a comment about the sheriffs. I'm sure recruiting and retaining staff is a big issue for them, and they probably have to raise pay. But, and I know in the past, people have raised the issue of, well, why don't we just rely on the state troopers? I think the troopers are having the same kind of issues. They're having a hard time recruiting troopers too. So I don't think that's a solution to, solving a problem with not having enough coverage from the sheriffs. I don't think we can really rely on the troopers to fill that gap in necessarily.
I would, Harold, I would agree 100%. I know that the town of Elmore does use the sheriff for basic part-time highway patrol. But other than that, they depend on state police and the response time, just the reality of the response time. It's not an effective service. If something really bad goes down, they'll be there. Otherwise, you're going to have to get in line for it. So I agree with that 100%. And you're right, the sheriff has really struggled with retaining deputies. Unfortunately, the Lamoille sheriff is in a position where he's not in a competitive position when it comes to retirement funds. And that has just wreaked havoc with his staffing. So part of the reason that we're not getting the level of service that we would hope to get in Wolcott is for that very reason. He is just simply rotating through deputies. And this is at the legislative level to correct that problem. And we've Wolcott, Hyde Park, Johnson have all tried to work together with the sheriff and to communicate to the state that we need to have a balanced retirement system, or that the Lamoille is simply going to be underserved. It's a real problem.
So Sonia has a question. It seems I can't find the school budget in the town report or on the Wolcott website. Please say the amount of the school budget. I do not know, Sonia. The school is a separate entity, but tomorrow night they are holding their informational meeting. They sent out a postcard I believe it's at 6 o'clock, and you would have to listen to the school directors. I have no idea what their budget is.
It is on the town website under documents.
Their budget.
Yes.
All right, Belinda says that we placed the town website in the documents section.
And the ballot says $5,037,894. And that's on the website too.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I guess we will adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. If you have any further questions that you think about, just call one of your select board members. On page 2 of the town report are the phone numbers for that.
Come out and vote next Tuesday, please.
Right, so you can get an absentee ballot by calling the town clerk's office, or you can email. The recording of this meeting will be posted on our website in the Select Board minutes section, if you want to re-listen to it.